sharing a reading experience. I took down notes from Mere Christianity by atheist philosopher turned Christian C.S. Lewis, and I'm sharing them with you now. I hope you listen and receive something worthwhile from this. Remember, these are just my notes, not necessarily a report of what the book is about, and might not even be the words or thoughts of the author. Rather, these notes are what I gleaned or what I thought about while I was reading. These notes are what caught my interest because the ideas expanded my knowledge or made me think, reflect, or ponder in some way. This video might inspire you to read what I did. It's my hope that you'll search from the best books and gain information and ideas to help you to become a better person. The more you read, the better you think. And the better you think, the more you'll be able to face life's challenges successfully. Selfishness is not admired in any culture. If there's no right and wrong, what's the difference between fair and unfair? Our excuses for our failings of decent behavior is evidence that we really do believe there is right and wrong. We only make excuses for our bad behavior. The things that will tell you to play the note louder is not the note. The piano doesn't have wrong notes and right notes. Every note is right at times and wrong at other times. You can't say, I must be sure to play this one note all the time. When you say one set of behavior is better than another, you are measuring by a standard. The materialist view of the world states that from the matter that existed, a fluke and a long series of chances produce thinking beings. The religious view states that a mind is behind the universe and what is. Life force philosophy is between these views. Life force philosophy gives an emotional comfort without the pesky consequences of morals that would bother you. Pantheism says the universe is God and that it's not really good or bad. Wherever there are thinking men, these views turn up. Real scientists don't conclude any of these theories because science is developed on what we can observe, not from what we don't observe. We know most about man because we have inside information. We have a moral law which we ought to obey, which you would not be able to observe because moral law is about what we ought to do, not what we do. Having a moral compass ought to rise a suspicion. Is there anything behind what we observe? Is there anything behind the universe? Not the observation of the universe, but the fact behind the universe. We know of one example of fact behind an observation: us. If there is a fact behind the universe, we could not see it as a fact within the universe. The architect can't be a wall or a staircase. Do you agree with human exploitation? Yet you want God to make exceptions, but if he does, he cannot be good. And a good God must hate what we do, for we're hopeless. You can't get comfort through observation. If you are an atheist or are an atheist, you must believe that all religion is a mistake. How is it that Christian belief is similar to other beliefs? Is a surgeon bad because he kills the cancer? The universe seems cruel and unjust, but how did you get the idea of just or unjust? You can't call a line crooked unless you know what a straight line is. What were you comparing the universe to when you called it unjust? Atheism is too simple. How is it that you found out that the universe has no meaning? If there was no light in the universe, how would you know that it was dark? Would be without meaning. The fall had to do with pride, trying to be like God, trying to find something other than God to bring you joy. That fails because God made us. An engine is designed to run on fuel. It can't run on dirt. Running your life without God is like running an engine on the wrong stuff. A man who says the things Jesus said would not be a great moral teacher. At best, he would be a lunatic or something worse. Or he is actually the Son of God. If I'm drowning and a man on the bank helps me while standing on the bank, I wouldn't say, "No, that's not fair. You have an advantage. You're keeping one foot on the bank." That advantage is the only reason he can be of help. We look for help from that which is stronger than us. None alive has seen the Norman conquest, and you can't prove it like you would a mathematical formula. We must instead take it on authority. Any good we do comes from God. God doesn't love us because we're good. God helps us to be good because he loves us. A greenhouse doesn't attract the sun because it's bright. A greenhouse is bright because the sun shines on it. People obsessed with their desires have very little sales resistance. Modern propaganda states obsession with our desires, that they're natural, healthy, reasonable, and that it's perverse and abnormal to resist them. Excess is never healthy. Our very nature requires control. To do otherwise is to ruin your whole life. No feeling can be counted on to last. We could not trust ourselves when we are at our best, and we must not despair even at our worst. We only need to worry about being at peace. Indulgence brings our life into a fog, while attempted virtue brings our life light. The utmost evil is pride. Pride is not proud of other people's accomplishments, but has the belief of being holier or better or more deserving than someone else. Pride looks down on others. Pride leads to every vice. Pride is the complete anti God state of mind. The more proud one has of himself, the more he dislikes that pride in others, because now he's in competition with that other person. And that person is your rival. Pride destroys love and always means enmity, especially with God, because God, in every respect, is superior. And it's impossible to look down on God. God does love, but love does not mean like. Love means we're wishing that the other person does well, is good. The more cruel you are, the more you'll hate. And the more hateful you are, the more you'll be cruel. Good and evil both increase at compound interest. Act well, for good works begets love. No man knows how bad it is until he's tried to be very good. You know the strength of the wind by walking against it, not by laying down. Bad people live a sheltered life by always giving in. You can't bargain with God. You can't put him in debt. You're bankrupt And you can't give God anything that he doesn't already have. God doesn't care about your actions. He cares about your quality. Christ offers everything for nothing. You do the right thing, not because you're trying to get to heaven, but because heaven is already in you. Doctrines are like maps. Maps itself is not a real thing. The map is based on experiences of real people who were in touch with God. To really go anywhere, you've got to use a map. If Christianity is just a piece of good advice, then Christianity is of no more importance than any other piece of good advice. Christianity tells of a world beyond what we can touch, beyond what we can see. Christ was not created. He was begotten before the world was. You create things that are different from you. A book, a painting, and so forth. You beget things like you, sons and daughters. What God begets is God, just like man begets man. What God creates is not God, just like what man creates is not man. Man was created in the image of God, but doesn't have the life of God. Like the story of Pinocchio, Christianity is about changing an image into the real thing. God is outside and above the timeline. If you were to look at mankind as God sees it, it wouldn't look like a lot of separate things. It would look like one single growing thing because everyone's connected. What we are matters more than what we do. Laziness means more work in the long run. The hardest thing is to hand over your whole life to Christ, but it's far easier than to remain ourselves. Thistles don't produce figs. An egg can't fly. It has to turn into a bird first. We must be hatched or go bad. The Bible says, "Be ye perfect." It means the only help God gives you is the help to make you perfect. You want less, but God will not give you less. God is easy to please, but hard to satisfy. Careless lives cause talk. That talk throws doubt on truth. Being nice is God's gift to us, not our gift to God. I'm influenced by what I hear, see, and read. I take it in, I mix it around a bit, and I spew some of it back out. Sometimes I add a chocolate sauce with a cherry on top. My notes are the same. I read, but I might come up with more of a conclusion than the author intended. It's my suggestion that if you find this material interesting, you'll read it for yourself to see if you focus in on the same thing. My bet is that you'll see something slightly, if not altogether, different. I wish you the best in your happy readings. Thank you for joining me. Until next time, Godspeed.